Good morning YouTube and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be reviewing my 2006 GSR 600 K6. So I've had the bike quite some time now. It's got to be knocking on nearly 7 years, and when I first laid eyes on these many years ago when I was on my 125, I dreamt of owning one. So once I got through all the apprenticeship things of life, I ended up putting it in the garage after years of lusting after one. And do you know what? A lot of people still say to me now, I've got so many, obviously, bikes that are full of character, the Ducati, the Aprilia, now the RC8. Why an old Gixxer? They're as common as muck. And do you know what? Yes, it may be, but there are so many things that I do love about it that we'll discuss in this video. So we'll start with the engine first. I mean, 16,000 RPM, what on earth revs to that? It is ridiculous. Even the new stuff you're buying now, it's not at that RPM level. It's just crazy, and this video will just not relay the absolute monster of sound that it makes when it touches that RPM with its tool first gear just screaming away. Now, the engine's an inline 4, liquid cooled, fuel injected. It's good for around 110 horsepower. I've had the full Acropovic Evolution system fitted on this, which is downpipes, mid-link pipe, aftermarket can on it, all Acropovic original stuff, and it just absolutely opens it up for sound volume. It's crazy what a difference it makes. It's certainly one of those gearboxes that even just flicking up and down, it just feels so good. It doesn't feel like you're missing anything really for the price point. I'd say it's probably one of the best gearboxes I've ridden with. If you're new to 600s, you'll see a lot of people saying, oh, you got to scream the bollocks off of them. Yes, if you really want to make progress, 10,000 RPM is the sweet spot. But let's say we're 5,000 RPM here in 4th gear. I'll roll on. It's not exactly slow. There's still plenty of usable power. Bearing in mind you're well out of its power band area, but it's still more than usable. But really what you want to do is just get down that gearbox. The brakes on the bike are all provided by Nissin. Now, it's not an amazing setup, but for what it was and for the price point they're in, I think it's actually pretty acceptable. The only thing I've done is upgrade the brake fluid to ATE Racing Blue and installed a set of SBS pads, and I've had the bike on track. The braking feels absolutely spot on. Not up there in terms of feel with the Brembos like what I've got on the RC8, but for the price bracket, like I said, this bike is a lot cheaper than that, and it really does the job. I've never felt that I've ever needed more from the braking. Obviously, being 4-pot calipers on the front, there's plenty of grab power there. Handling. Well, as with these sort of reviews on the road, and where I live near London, you never really get an amazing amount of roads to show you guys just what it's like, especially compared to when we go over to the Cotswolds. It is a wonderful thing, it really is. It's never going to set the world on fire, but it's also very predictable. I feel a lot of trust in this bike. I run the Pirelli Diablo Rosso 2s, which are a dual compound tyre, probably more summer based than winter, but for what they are, they do handle really well. And you know what? I think anyone could get on one of these and ride it. It's the tricky power van at 10,000 RPM that makes it maybe a little intimidating for some. comfort wise, again, scores another good point on that aspect. As I've mentioned previously in videos, with me being 6'2", I'm quite tall and I don't feel cramped on the GSXR. It feels very spacious on here. Yes, it's still a sports bike, so your weight is over your wrists and your elbows, so you do feel it on your arms on long drives. But as far as sports bikes goes, I can get completely tucked in, have no issues at all there. Reliability. Well, the good news is the GSXR and the Suzuki brand in general is pretty solid. The only failure I've had with this, and the failures I've seen over the years, are with the charging system. So unfortunately, the generator fried itself, which just shorted everything out. It wasn't a big job to replace. I think it was about £150 for the parts. There's also the regulator rectifier. Now mine's been relocated to the side. If you look through the left air vent on a GSXR, you'll see if it's been relocated. You can see it just on the left, which I'll include a clip of. If it's on the original mounting point behind the radiator, they can overheat. And when they overheat, obviously they fail and they no longer work. Again, it just feels so committed to the road. Really happy to change direction as well. Really nice little thing to ride they are. Servicing cost, well, like all sports bikes, it's a highly strung engine. You're going to be changing engine oil and filter every couple of thousand miles. And then after that, it really is just things like spark plugs, coolant, brake fluid, as you'd expect. The only other thing to bear in mind is there is a valve adjustment service, which is normally done at around 22,000 miles. So would I buy one? Well, of course I would. I've got one again in the collection. I've had it for over 7 years and I've got no intention of selling it. They're such fantastic bikes for the money and it hasn't really depreciated a lot over the years that I've had it. So I'm more than happy keeping it in the garage as a sort of trustee to go out on. And now it's been since March was the last time I took this out. And going out on it today, it is great fun. It's so easy to ride with like the lightweight clutch, fuel injection. Yes, if you're not familiar with taking a bike over 10,000 RPM, it can be a bit of a warp speed when it hits that RPM, but it's all controlled in that throttle. It's not unpredictable power. So what are you going to pay for a GSXR 600 K6? Well, anywhere from £2,500 to £5,000 I think is going to be a fair price for one of these. Obviously age, mileage, spec, etc. are all going to vary massively on what you pay for them. Try and find one that's been looked after, a full service history, the normal spiel. For me, I wouldn't be put off by someone who's tracked one. I've taken this on track. It's where they come alive, it's where they make sense, screaming them to the top of that red line. So certainly don't be phased, especially if it's been looked after. And as I said, these sort of bikes now have done their depreciating. I bought mine 7 years ago, and to be honest with you, the actual purchase price is not very far off what I'd be looking to sell it if I did want to sell it. So for me, again, I'm happy to have it in the garage, and because of the good memories I've had, especially on it, track days, going around the Cotswolds, as you guys have seen from the channel, I get very attached to stuff. I can't bear to let it go, much to the missus' delight. We've got a garage full of bikes, driveway full of cars, but I do think I can keep using this and enjoying it without any real concerns. So I'll talk about the modifications. As I said, I've got the full Aquapovic exhaust system on it, which is the headers, the link pipe and the Aquapovic silencer. It makes a fantastic sound. Not exactly street legal with the catalyst not being in there, so obviously on this review I've put it back in for the road test. Other upgrades being the ASV shortened levers. To be honest with you, I like the feel of them. They're a bit blingy. The clutch is nice and light, so I don't feel I need the leverage on them. I really like the ASVs. I know a lot of people don't, but they're supposed to be unbreakable if you do crash the bike, not rendering you stranded somewhere. But I guess levers are probably going to be the least of your worries. The only other upgrade being the braided brake lines front and back from Hell Performance. got SBS brake pads in the front, and like I say, other than that, it's a good little bike. You know, it's got everything as standard. I think long gone are the days people changing indicators, because they're all built into the mirrors, they're all built into the tail, and they do look really smart for it out the factory. So as always guys, if you enjoyed the channel, make sure you give us a like and a subscribe. It does help me continue growing the channel and hopefully bringing you more and more content like this to the internet.